I got kissed by a rock star. Woo! Well, thank you, Billy, for
Thank you.
sending the message, I think, in July of last year or something like that. I mean, it was a long time ago that you reached out and said, hey, we're coming to Baker City. Do you think we should play a show there? And, and I was like, well, maybe. And so for those of you who didn't read the back of my sweatshirt, it says, buy a fucking ticket. And the reason that we say that, one, is because we want to make sure that talented guys like these that come and grace our stage, we can afford to pay them. And so it was a real pleasure to have you guys here, because one of the things that was kind of quirky, it was like, I don't know, you're playing the next day? It might be hard to get an audience.
Yeah, the proximity clause totally doesn't work for that.
But you guys had a great following in Baker because of your appearances at Barley Brown's. So shout out to Barley's and Addison Collard for recognizing your talent. And
is Ad in the building?
He unfortunately is not.
Ad.
But he will be here opening for Low Fives.
Oh, nice.
On March 21st.
Perfect.
So yeah, he's fantastic. So now you talked about all of you are Oregonians now, but you're all transplants from someplace else.
Yes.
I am also a transplant. All the white people in this audience are transplants. So talk about like how your sound came together when you came together in Hood River, because I know from chatting with you beforehand that there's a musical diversity
for sure
that may not come through in what we heard tonight.
So I grew up in Central Texas in a small town, and when I was growing up, there was a saying, like, you could swing a dead cat and hit a singer-songwriter in Texas, and I was like, well, and I grew up, like, we had a band, I had a band in college, and we played in Huntsville and Houston and all these places, and I just wasn't getting the outdoor fix. I grew up just wanting to camp and be outside, and when I first came to Oregon, I realized how much public lands there were and how you could camp anywhere for like 7 days, not having to pay for a campsite. 14 days.
Yeah.
And, and truth be told, I met a woman, like my wife is I appreciate her so much. She brought me out to the Pacific Northwest, and I wouldn't have experienced this unless I had fallen in love. So I fell in love with my wife. I fell in love with the outdoors. And then the first person I met was Matt Farmer, and he was playing mandolin, and I was like, oh, this is great. We got this, a bunch of singer-songwriter stuff from Texas, and you meet a mandolin player, and we were a bluegrass band for a little bit, and then one night we brought over Ryan Kohlberg. So Farmer's from Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Ryan is from somewhere in Indiana. Arlington Heights, Illinois. I don't know.
It's near Indiana. It's like above it.
But so, like, the Texas guy and the Midwesterners got together and started a group. And then we found Joey to really bring us all together with sound and with wonderful rhythmic tunes, and showed us that I can't. And I've always wanted to be in a country rock band. No. We got rid of the bluegrass image really early on, and then the last little piece of the puzzle, Doug came back home from Amsterdam. He was living in the Netherlands for a while, and we had heard that he was moving back into town, and our original guitar player was moving to Alaska or something, and we were like, Doug, you want to be a part of the band? And he was like, the whole record before he moved home. Yeah, it was good stuff. So Doug came from the Netherlands, also from Chicago. Joey's from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Matt's from Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Ryan's from somewhere.
Also Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. And I'm from South Central Texas.
So now, like, your musical backgrounds, like talking with Doug earlier, because Karina and I both grew up in Chicago, and we frequented some of the punk scene in Chicago.
I don't want to speak on this because
so-
all I know is like Waylon Jennings. So
Yeah, Chicago punk scene.
Yeah. And so, like, one of the places that you were talking about was the Fireside Bowl. And for those of you who are into the punk scene, like, it was the punk rock bowling alley in
Yeah.
Chicago. Unfortunately, they don't do shows there anymore, but they do bowling. And I live just about 4 to 5 blocks from where Fireside Bowl was.
Yeah.
And so, like, coming into Greenneck Daredevils, like, how was it a shift for you musically to play what you play now?
Yeah, I mean, I think punk rock and country are a lot more related than people give them credit for. And a lot of the bands that I was into in Chicago when I was a kid had this, 1-4-5 sort of, raw sort of thing going on. And rock and roll, I think, has that too, but it's a little more polished. In country, at least the country I got into, like Patsy Cline and Hank Williams and that kind of stuff, Johnny Cash early on, there were a lot of heroes of the punk rock people that were from Chicago, like the Smoking Popes. They would start playing some pretty cool Patsy Cline covers, and we just realized that it just lended itself really well to what we understood. So I don't think it was a difficult thing to get from, playing punk rock 1-4-5 songs to country. It just slowed down a little bit, over the years. And yeah, a lot of guitar heroes of mine also went that way too. And I think country music doesn't have a lot of too much flash when it comes to guitar, just like punk rock solos and all that. And I think that's why it lends itself to the way I play now. Yeah.
So now you guys are on an extensive tour that ends on Sunday.
I mean, we've been on the road for. We've been on the road, but.
And we've got lots
Rain,
of merch
sleet, or
here that we don't want them to have to take home to Hood River. So definitely buy it all.
Yeah.
Buy
Come
it
grab
all
the record.
here so that they don't have any tomorrow up at the mountain.
Right.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
buy
you
it
want
all
to be
tonight.
hands-free. Just carry the kids' ski stuff.
Yeah. So talk about the recording process for this record. Like, how long did you get to spend in the studio, and was the album done before you went in? Like, had everything been rehearsed and
Yeah.
you were ready to go and just like knock it out? Or-
Basically, yeah. We recorded everything in Parkdale. Mike Andrews, what's the studio called?
Mike Andrews Studio.
Mike Andrews in Parkdale. So it was a very, like, this guy lives 15 or 10 minutes away from my house. So it was really, and it was in the midst of the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say,
we
it
got
was
away
like,
with,
it,
yeah.
it was,
It
there was a
not-
big question
It
as to
wasn't
whether
cool.
we were
Like, we were
gonna do
one
it.
pod doing the recording, and we weren't talking or seeing anyone else. It was like, we're doing this together, and hopefully we don't die.
Yeah.
And because of
We're
some
glad
of the
you didn't.
because of some of the restrictions in the studio, we couldn't do like a classic one room, one take sort of deal. Like, it just wasn't in the cards. So we had to kind of figure that part out. And I think the rhythm section recorded the whole album in 2 days. I think it was like, because we had played these songs so often, and we really just wanted to get them down. So we went through it. 2 days, had everything, kind of laid out, and then the other guys just came in and
Everyone individually,
came in
It's
and
like,
had
it's your
to-
time, it's your time, it's your time. So that was odd for us. We don't typically do that. Like, we just record usually live performances, live practices. And we've never done something that has, like, Joey recorded the rhythm track, and then everyone would play on top of that. So it was a cool experience, and we're very proud of the record. I mean, it's first class.
Oh, it's a fantastic record. Yeah.
Thank you guys for playing it.
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic. So I want to talk about Mirsky's. I wonder if you ever had a drink with Charlie Ernst there.
Charlie?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So
Do you know of a Mirsky's?
So we have
Is this in
a
Huntsville?
very, very close connection with a man from Dufur.
Oh,
And yeah, so
Oh.
he is known as the roofer from Dufur.
okay. So the Doofer part came way later.
Oh,
The song was
Wow.
written in East Texas, and the ending of the song with the Doofer part is like, well, this little band went on the road for the first time. That's the song was written back in East Texas, and there was a bar called Mirsky's where when I was in college, we'd get $5 pitchers of beer and $2 hamburgers every Thursday night, and that was our spot. Like, it was actually a Dairy Queen that they converted into a small bar. So like it had all of the Dairy Queen things in the place, but it was like our college bar.
nice.
And so that's where Mirsky's come from. But what did legitimately happen was Cycle Oregon came to Dufur,
Yes.
and we got a show at the Balch Hotel,
Yep.
and I couldn't get it out of my mind of what could Dufur do for you and what could Dufur do for me. And I know it was a slogan from like way back, like somebody was running for office, but you can't make that stuff up. Like you can't. There's no way.
So that's even better part to our
Trying
story
to add the Texas,
related
like the Texas to the.
to Dufur. So because of Cycle Oregon, when we first bought this place, we were on the main stage when it was here in Baker City, and we got to talk about Churchill and our vision for this place. And so this guy, Charlie Ernst, who lives in Dufur, was on Cycle Oregon. And the next year, he was riding his bike back from the East Coast and came through Baker City 2 days after we were allowed to open up.
No way.
And he was like, yeah, I heard about you guys from Cycle Oregon. So I was like, I got to see if they're open. Well, then out of nowhere during his stay, he was like, you know what? This place needs a new roof. And I was like, this place does need a new roof. And, but it was like, you know, we can only do what time and money allows us to do. So it'll be a while before we do a roof. But if we can get a grant, we will. And so he was like, okay, well, when you do, I'll come back and help you. And so there's this thing that affected your recording session that also affected our ability to get a grant. So in
That's
2020, even though we had our grant proposal into state preservation, they said, because we don't have money, we can't fund this. And so I said, Charlie, you're going to have to change your plans. And he goes, screw those guys. I'm going to send you a check, and we're going to do that roof. And so, so what could Dufur do for us? They could put a
do a
roof
lot.
on this
Yeah,
place.
that's awesome.
And you guys blew it off tonight.
I appreciate it.
So, besides tomorrow night's show, like, where can we see you next?
Oh,
like, where are you going?
I think we're booking in Hood River.
Yeah, look for us at Double Mountain on the 17th of
Double
February.
Mountain Brewery,
Yeah. And
River City,
River City, Hood River as well.
mostly in Hood River.
Yeah. Come
But
on down.
hey, for a couple of bucks, we'll come play anywhere. So don't feel free to email us at greenneckdaredevils.com. There's a link to the website. If you've got a bachelorette party or any sort of celebration, we're more than happy to. Joey does a great
Would you
job
play
with
a
the sound
gender
system.
reveal?
Yeah.
Baby reveal, bat mitzvahs.
Baby reveal, bat mitzvah. That's the best.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, for being here. It was such a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
to everybody being here
Thank
in
you.
the
Good
audience
night.
tonight. Thank you, Lauren. Thanks,
Lauren.
thanks, Amy in the kitchen. Thanks, Christy and Tana in the bar, and Kareen and Richard behind the scenes making these live streams happen. So we can't wait to have you back.
Definitely.
Cool.
We'll see you next year.
Thank you so much.